Hello, everybody. This is episode 2 of AI-TAINMENT with me, Vessy Mink, your host. Big up to Metaverse Generation and all the crew. In fact, everybody, today we have the most amazing show for you. We have a very special guest, but before we do that, we'd like to thank our sponsors. Here we go. Thank you again to all of our sponsors. All right, let's get going. Today, we've got the one and only AlephOne in the house. He started early in AI. He's going to tell us all about it. He's going to tell us so many things. I love this person. This is a friend of mine, somebody that I have a regular show with. You're going to find out everything. Let's bring AlephOne to the stage. Welcome, Aleph.
Hey, am I on stage?
Yes, you're on stage. I like your profile picture. What does that say? I'm looking. It says AlephOne, Azuki Apes. Oh, wow.
Yeah, we'll get into that. You know what I'm looking at though? I'm looking at my name has an A and then like it's got a bunch of boxes.
Yes. It says Aleph to me. I can see it. I wonder what's
for
going on.
everyone else, it just has a bunch of boxes. I'm going to fix that for everyone in the audience. Let's see if we can change it in real time. We're doing real time. We're hacking the stream. We're hacking the matrix in real time.
For real. Okay, well.
There it is. I fixed it. Yay, I win.
How did you do that? You're going to have to give us all of your secrets.
I just went in and changed the characters of my name while it was live, but kept that weird A. So
I love that weird A. In fact, it's a very mysterious name you have. I know that you have actually quite a history of AI already in your life. And do you want to start there, Aleph? Should we start how you even got into this? I mean, you're our second guest for our show AI-TAINMENT, so we should start there.
Absolutely. So we'll start with the name Aleph or Aleph, which is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And it means the one or the first or the beginning. Some people say that it also can mean Adam. And so AlephOne to me is a hilarious joke, because if you are the first and your name is the one and you are the first one, then you're just trolling. It's like self-referential trolling yourself. So anyway, I'm AlephOne. I'm the one first one.
Yes. I mean, Keanu has nothing on you. Keanu's like,
exactly.
Yes, he can see us.
So yeah, I have a long history in AI. I've been doing AI since before it was called artificial intelligence, back when it was called an expert system, or I mean, it's been known by a lot of names over the years. Big data sometimes, back about 20 years ago, they would call it data analytics or big data, or for a while there, it started being called machine learning and all of these different things. But we now know it as AI or artificial intelligence. And I've been doing artificial intelligence work since, let's see, probably 1999. That's how old I am. So
Wow.
I was in my 20s, and probably 1999 was the first time I did any artificial intelligence work. Again, it wasn't called artificial intelligence back then. But the work that I did back then was, you probably know this, and we've talked about it a little bit on our other show, FOMO. I have a background in what would be considered ethical hacking. And so I started a company that it was one of the first companies that did network security. And so imagine intrusion detection, intrusion prevention, dynamic firewall reconfiguration, network vulnerability assessment, network scanning, giving you all of the problems on your network. And one of the things that was really interesting about it back then is there weren't a lot of systems that could do high-speed packet capturing or capture packets, network TCP/IP packets at a high rate of speed, and do anything with them. And you couldn't really do traditional systems, because a traditional system, you could imagine Like, let's say you have 10,000 packets per second on a large network. Well, a traditional system, could you imagine like the code required to go through and like disassemble every packet, look inside of it, see if there's an attack, reassemble the packet, all of
I
that
can't
stuff?
I can't understand any of it. I'll just be straight up with you. I know how to write songs. So please continue. No, I kind of understand. I mean, since hanging around you and Lucas, I've kind of can understand a little bit more. I'm not going to lie.
Well, the short version of that story is that we had to come up with a different way to manage the network to be able to see 10,000 or more packets per second. And networks were going from 100 megabit to gigabit speeds at that time, and then they were doing full duplex gigabit, so gigabit on each direction, and just getting faster. Right, networks were getting a lot faster. And so how do you look at data really quickly and make a decision really quickly? And traditional systems didn't work. You couldn't go out and say, well, I'm going to write this system in C or C++ or whatever shit language was around at the time. You couldn't write, a system that would disassemble packets, look at the contents, determine whether or not there was a hacker, it was an intrusion, there was some kind of attack on the network, whatever. And so I think probably that was the first time I thought, well, there's got to be a better way to do this. Is there a way to map like the shape of what an attack looks like? And then if you can map the shape of an attack, you're not having to look at like every single aspect of this entire thing. You could just look at it kind of globally or holistically and then make a determination very quickly. And does it have these markers that say, well, this is an attack or this isn't an attack, this could be or this wouldn't be? And so if you could do that, you could be a lot faster. In the same way that when, our brains, Vessy, when you look at something, we're really good at identifying whether something is a chair or an airplane or a dog or a couch. We can do that with very like rough around the edges information,
Right.
right? And so, yeah, in the late 90s, like 1999 to 2000, we built one of the first, I guess, what would be now today considered a recurrent neural network. But
Wow.
yeah, one of the first neural networks.
Whew. Okay, so when you say neural network, I think of one person only because, neural networks, and you probably know who I'm thinking of. But big up to the chief of X, I suppose. At this point, did you ever have a chance to meet the man in armor?
Oh yeah, we met multiple times. I was living in San Francisco for almost 20 years, 30 years.
Wow.
We met a bunch back before it was even PayPal, right? When it was like Zip2 and all that nonsense going around. Actually, there's a funny story. When I started the network security company that I'm talking about, I was the founder, and I was like this young, brash, know-it-all, very autistic, didn't understand why people didn't like me, because I was constantly telling people like, well, you should be ashamed of this function. Like, did you write this while you were high? And I was like, I don't know why
Good for
people don't
you,
like
Aleph.
me.
Good for you. And a shout out to all the listeners. We do have a bunch of listeners out there. Definitely, hello. You're called. They said your name means golden god, and they've got a lot here. They love this philosophy. Says 34. It's very cortical superior to LLMs in many ways. Okay, very cool, everybody. Let us know where you're coming from. Give a shout out for your city, and back to you, Aleph. I'm listening.
In San Francisco, we started out in the East Bay in Emeryville, which is right. It's this south of Berkeley, and my buddy David Worthen had started a company at the time called Ask Jeeves, and they had just gone public. And we were in this tiny little, like, Emeryville was filled with warehouses, and we were in this tiny little warehouse, and we were like, man, we really got to expand. We've got to go somewhere else. And so we were like, let's move into San Francisco proper. We're growing, we're big enough. Let's move into San Francisco. And let's get a real place like on Market Street, and
Wow.
and be one of those like .com kind of companies. And we moved into a place that was the former headquarters, and you're not going to remember this company, but the former headquarters of a company called Gloss, 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 and they had a company called Gloss.com, and Gloss.com was like one of those attempts to like sell lipstick and like eyeliner and makeup and all that stuff on the internet. And
Oh,
so when we
okay.
moved in, it was a complete ghost town. They basically had taken all of this venture capital and just they blew the money on like a massive party with like the Dixie Chicks and like Elvis Costello and all these
Wow.
famous people,
That
and
sounds fun.
they ran out of money, and so all of the desks were like so they had taken doors like a wooden door without the hole like punched
Yeah.
in. They'd just taken doors and bought doors and put them in between file cabinets, and the entire like it was a massive amount of space, like
Makeshift.
8,000 square feet of
Yeah.
makeshift desks.
That's
Just
awesome.
and a ghost town though. They had left the place, and I'll get off this in a second, but it's hilarious.
Okay.
They had
Okay.
left the place in just absolute disarray, and they had these whiteboards, wall to wall whiteboards of like ideation of like what are we going to do with gloss and how are we going to sell lipstick and all that. And my favorite, I wish I still had a photo of it. My favorite was top 10 reasons I love working at Gloss. And the number 10 reason was the lucrative stock options. And that's what I walked into. I walked into Gloss being completely dead.
And and then what happened? I mean, you took it over and you built.
Well, yeah, we took over the building.
Yeah.
We built it. I grew from 14 employees to about 350 employees.
Wow.
And we ultimately built one of the most successful privately held network security companies in the world, all built on AI, all built on a language that most people don't even really use anymore called Lisp,
Huh.
which is one of the first artificial intelligence languages. So
Wow.
almost all of it was written in Lisp. We had some of it written in C and C++ because we had to do packet capturing, but we wrote most of it in Lisp. And there were a couple of Lispers around at the time. There was a guy named Paul Graham who had built something called the Yahoo Store. And Paul Graham went on to start Y Combinator. I don't know if you're familiar with Y
I'm not.
Combinator. It's a like an incubator for startups. So he's a Lisper. He wrote an incredible book called Hackers and Painters. And if you look at paulgraham.com, he has some amazing essays about the difference between hackers and painters and lots of stuff about Lisp. And so I've been kind of a Lisper, somebody who writes Lisp code almost my whole life. You know, if we fast forward in time, Vessy, there's a really hilarious connection with Lisp, which is the Chia,
Okay.
the language, the L1 blockchain Chia.
Yeah.
Chia, the language inside of Chia. So the language inside of Ethereum is called Solidity.
Hmm.
Solidity is basically JavaScript for dummies.
Okay.
It's like if JavaScript were terrible, it would be called Solidity. That's what Ethereum runs on. But
Okay.
Chia has a language called Chia Lisp.
All right.
And so it's wild to me that the guys who created BitTorrent and who are now creating Chia chose Lisp as their lingua franca for the underlying architecture of how they move things around on the blockchain. So there's your little connection there between me, you,
Wow.
Lucas, Chia.
Head
It all
blown.
connects.
I'm blown. I mean, there needs to be a movie made about you, obviously. And we do have co-founder and producer BK Han in the studio. So whenever Mr. Han's ready to come up and ask you questions, yes, let's dive into it. Aleph, how did you decide that you wanted to be a coder, that you wanted to go into the technical aspects of everything, basically, that you've uncovered since I don't even know when you began as a child? If we could just have a little bit of a peek in, what was it like to be AlephOne, little guy? What was it like?
So I grew up in a house with people who I guess today would be considered gypsies. Although my father was in the military, we moved around a lot, and we used to move every 3 or 4 months. And so as a kid, I moved from the time I was adopted. So the time I was adopted until I was about 15 or so, 16, and moved out.
Mhm.
We moved probably 30 times. And so I was constantly at a new school, constantly with a bunch of new people. But there was somebody who was a static person in my life, which is my grandmother.
Hmm.
And my parents, who are both dead now, I can tell you, they like, what is the old joke? They put the fun in dysfunctional.
Yeah,
Like,
that's it.
like, my father drank way too much and was a, military guy, and like one of those people that was like a product of the environment, right? And
Mhm.
so like spare the rod, spoil the child was his
Right.
kind of motto. And then my mother was like very, very concerned about what everyone in the neighborhood thought of us. And I remember even at 11 or 12 going, what the fuck do you care? We're going to be here for 3 months. Right.
Right.
so,
Right.
but my grandmother, kind of a staple in my life whenever my parents would just go kind of off the deep end, I would stay with my grandmother. My grandmother bought me a skateboard when I was young, very young.
Hmm.
And I started to skate. And you can imagine moving around a lot. It was really cool to be around a bunch of people who were
Yeah.
skaters and to kind of get to know that culture. And if you don't know anything about skate culture, skaters are like skaters are a lot like hackers.
Yeah. They're a
Like everybody
crew.
has a
Yeah.
yeah, everybody has a nickname. They're kind of ride or die. If somebody, messes with you, they'll stand up for. They're really cool. It's a
Yeah.
cool group of people to be in. So I kind of just immediately glommed on to whatever skater culture. Like I was in San Diego for a while when the guys, the Bones Brigade, were around.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I was the first person other than Mike McGill to do a McTwist.
What's it called? A Mick twist?
McTwist, yeah. Mike McGill did a thing called a McTwist, and it's a half pipe. I was a half pipe skater mostly, but I did street skate.
I want
Um,
footage. Could you please send me some footage? Because
I'll,
I'm gonna
I'll
need
try
some
and
footage.
find some.
I want
I'll
to make
try
some
and find some.
promos. I want
It
to
was
make
a
some
million
promos.
years ago. I'm not sure they had cameras back then. I mean, we used to,
They had
um,
cameras back then.
remember, I was poor. None of my friends had a camera. We were all
Yeah,
broke as shit. We
we
couldn't afford
didn't
a camera.
either. We
So,
didn't either.
but I'm sure there's footage. So anyway, a McTwist is you drop. So you're on a half pipe. You go up on the half pipe and you do a 360 degree. Um, and you 360 degrees one way and 180 degrees the other way. So basically, you go up facing the half pipe, do 360-degree rotation one way and 180 the other, and you end up
Wow.
coming back down facing away from the half pipe. Okay,
How do you even practice? How do you even?
you fall down a lot, and
Right. I
so
mean,
I was an amateur sponsored skater back in the day. Santa Cruz operations, motherfuckers. And so anyway, I was coming down one time, and these were half pipes that were built out of plywood and PVC pipe, and somebody had nailed the PVC pipe to the half pipe incorrectly, and so
oh no.
it's like with every single time that we were up there, like hitting our trucks on the PVC and just railing against it, it would come out a little bit. So anyway, the PVC pipe came out about 4 or 5, 6 inches. And so as I came down out of my fully extended McTwist, the rear trucks of my skateboard caught the back of the PVC pipe, and I did like a 9-foot vertical drop straight onto my knees.
Oh my God.
And so I had a compound bilateral fracture on one side and a shattered kneecap on the other. And this is an answer to your question, believe it or not.
I
And
know it
so
is. I
and
know.
so
You have a way of explaining things. I'm listening. Everybody's listening.
and so what happened was, obviously I was laid up for months, and I was really upset, and I was like, this is fucking bullshit. I can't skate anymore. My life is over. This is stupid. Life is stupid. You're stupid. Everyone's
Right, right.
stupid. And my grandmother had been reading about computers, and she just came home one day and was like, well, I mean, I was
Oh,
staying with her. I was staying with her at
yeah.
the time. She just came home one day and was like, here's a computer, and like,
Amazing.
see what you can do with it. And
Wow.
I mean, the rest is kind of history. Like I got really into, I did what everyone else does. I fucking looked at Byte magazine and copy and pasted. Well, you had to type at the time. You couldn't like copy it. I typed in like Hunt the Wumpus, which was like one of the first text-based adventure games for anybody who remembers it. It was like Zork,
Okay.
but terrible.
Whatever you say. This is like all like, I'm like, what language is this?
And then Eliza, there was Eliza was like the first, like it was a therapist. You can find it online still. Eliza,
Really?
you like ask it questions. It's like,
Huh.
hi, Eliza. And it's like, hello. And it's like, how are you feeling? And she's like, how are you feeling?
Right.
So it was, I don't
So
feel well. Oh, you're sad. It was one of those things. Uh,
interesting. So the whole
and
AI therapist thing, just quickly, because people are talking about kind of like there's a lot of that going on. People have created AIs now that are even in therapist's office with the actual therapist taking notes for the doctor and for the patient. So that's really cool. That started way back when. So thank you
I
so
mean, it
much.
was terrible back then. It was like, you remember those books, the Choose Your Own Adventure
Yes,
books?
I do. I love those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's how it was back then. It was
Okay.
like, if Vessy say sad, then me say why sad. If Vessy say happy, then me
If
say
Vessy say
happy
300,
too.
if Vessy say 300, what Aleph think?
Oh,
Oh, yeah, don't
did
do
a little
that.
fan there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so that's how I got into computers. So that was the first thing. And
Okay.
it was back then, it was an Apple computer was one of my first computers.
Nice.
And before that, I had, I think, a Commodore 64. And the thing that's funny about both of those computers is they both had a language called BASIC.
Mhm.
And BASIC was kind of the language that everyone learned back then. And I remember thinking, like, this language is terrible. And like, very immediately thinking, like, wow, this is where we're at with computer languages. There has to be something better,
How
right?
old were
Like, there
you when
has
you
to be a
thought?
better language.
How old were you, do you think,
uh
when you thought that? Were you in your teens already? Had you already? So you were already a develop. Wanted to start to develop something better, obviously.
well, I guess, let's see. So my father died when I was 19, so I guess I would have been
Hmm.
15,
Hmm.
14, 13. I would have been close. I probably would have been 13 or 14.
You wanted a better language.
Yeah, I
You wanted
really
a better
wanted a
language.
better language.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing, Aleph. Aleph, that's so amazing. I just want to just also say people are sharing some really wonderful things here in the chat. Thank you everybody for tuning in on X, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on Facebook. Thank you so much, Metaverse Generation, Mr. Buchanan, and myself, and the whole team. We thank you. And Aleph, we're so happy that you're here today. You have like major projects going on. Like, I'm surprised I even got you in the studio today because I know you're so busy. So big thank you again for making some time for this. We're really excited to have you here. I know that you have a few projects that are super close to your heart. It seems maybe you've always had your projects be close to your heart, just getting to know you even a little bit better now than I already do. But would you like to share your first business?
Would I like to share what?
Your first business. Your first
Hmm.
business. Yeah.
The first one of the ones that I'm doing right now, or the first
Well,
one that I
well,
did way back in the day?
well, I was thinking way back in the day, and that to tie it in to kind of you became,
Yeah.
yeah,
So the first one was the network security company that I mentioned. That was the first thing I
yes,
really did. Before that,
right,
I was writing what were called multi-agent systems. And so, you know how we talk about how artificial intelligence has all these different names?
yeah,
So way back in the late 90s, they were called multi-agent systems. Agent, like a spy, like an
yeah,
agent. And they were called that because multiple agents, multiple of these
mhm,
computers would work together in harmony to
mhm,
do something, right?
right,
And so the uh, and so the at the so just to kind of, like, put a bookend on the thing I was talking about earlier, when I was really pissed off about this language called BASIC and I was really frustrated with it, I started
mhm,
casting about, and there were a bunch of languages around the time. There was something called C, ANSI C, there was COBOL, there was Pascal, there were all these languages, just so many languages, many, many languages.
mhm,
There was a language called Perl that was kind of up and coming, and there was a language called Python, which was kind of like getting its start, sort of,
mhm,
um, a little bit later. But the language that for some reason, the language that I just really got attracted to was a language by a guy named John McCarthy, a language called Lisp,
mhm.
which is a computer programming language that was developed in 1960. But Lisp, the thing that Lisp has that, like, really no other language has, is that code is data and data is code. And I want you to think about this, Vessy. I want you to think about, in 1958, at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, this guy, John McCarthy,
Wow.
created a language where the code, the language, and the data are fundamentally interchangeable in a way where you can actually modify a variable during runtime. So the code itself can be modified while it's running. You can
Like
change the data inside the code while it's running.
like you did with your name earlier today. And,
Exactly.
and now I don't see your name. Your name is gone.
Oh, that's weird. I'll have to check that out. It's messing with me.
You're probably
Well,
like, why did she ask me about my first business when I just told her about my first business?
oh, no, no,
Um,
no, no.
you
I'm
know,
not at all. Not at all.
I
Um,
wanted the reason is because it seems you were already an entrepreneur before you became an entrepreneur. And I don't know, thinking about my first, like what I was doing, kind of imagining a business that I would start, or, kind of being at the helm. I was thinking of something earlier than your very first. But
well, I tried a bunch of stupid shit before that. Like, I mean, seriously, like that was the one that stuck. I mean, I did some, so I talked about multi-agent systems. So
Mhm,
I did some multi-agent systems work for a company called Ask Jeeves.
mhm,
And I remember like it was this crazy project where we went out and we bought like $2 million. This is true, $2 million worth of these workstations called Sun Ultra. They were called SunSpark Ultra 2s. And we
okay.
ran on them an operating system or an environment called OpenStep. OpenStep was, if you remember, Steve Jobs had a company
Yeah.
called Next, N-E-X-T,
Mhm.
and uh, the operating system was Next Step, and then when he open sourced Next Step, it became OpenStep, and it was available on Sun workstations. Sun,
Wow.
yeah, and there was a language in that called Objective C, which is basically C with objects, right?
Mhm.
And so I remember working with the Jeeves guys, and what we did is, so we put this massive computer like data center together, and we put all of these satellite feeds on the roof, and we were grabbing news articles, right? Because the only way to get news articles back then was through satellite, and so these
Wow.
texts would come in on these news articles, and so yeah, so I wrote the news the way that Ask Jeeves does news delivery, and the way that you could ask Jeeves a question about the news. I coded all of that. That was all my baby. I mean, it was a massive,
That's
massive project,
crazy. That's
and
so
that was before
crazy.
my first. That was before my first company. That was before the
See,
network
I
security
knew
company.
there was a reason I was asking. But then when you
Yeah.
mentioned Lisp again, you mentioned the whole thing. I was like, wait a minute. So, I mean, is there a problem you've never been able to figure out how to solve yet? And also, uh,
Oh, I'm terrible at relationships.
oh, okay.
Like, I mean, just awful. I mean, I
It seems
try
like you're
really
very
hard.
busy. It seems like you're very busy. So
I try really hard, but I'm just not great.
all
And
right.
so
So,
for anyone who's ever been in a relationship with me in the past, I apologize for being a terrible, terrible
well, thank you for
person.
taking this opportunity to let everybody know. This is a fun interview. Okay, so let's fast forward to what you're doing today. You and I met on X, and I'm so happy that we did. If some of the viewers are aware of the FOMO show, or you haven't heard of it yet, it's a wonderful show that AlephOne and Impossible Lucas run Monday through Friday at 11 Eastern. Actually, 10:30 a.m. is when we begin a little music series just before, and I've loved being part of that. How did the FOMO show? How did you how did you start that? Why did you start that?
Well, so I was on a show called The Bored Ape Show,
Okay.
and I, a long time ago, I used to do a bunch of podcasts back when those were a thing, and we would record a show and then edit the show and then release the show like once a week, and it was super time intensive, and I'm sure you remember those days. And then
Yeah.
Clubhouse came out, and I was like, holy crap, I could just hit a button and start talking, and like this thing is amazing. Like, fuck
Absolutely.
podcasts. Like, why would anyone ever
Absolutely.
spend all that energy doing all these podcasts? Why not just hit the record and go?
Live
Um,
radio.
yeah. And so I got really into that. And so me and this guy, when I first got it, right after Clubhouse, me and this guy, Crystal King, who is now running the Liquid Legions project again,
Okay.
me and this guy, Crystal King, started this. We started this thing called the Ape Raffle, which was like, we were so tired of all these contests that were rigged and all of these people grinding for whitelists and all of this shit.
Mhm.
And we started this thing called the Ape Raffle. And it was like, basically you bought a raffle ticket, and the raffle ticket entered you into being able to win something. And we did one. We thought, like, we're going to get maybe 50 people. Let's just do 100 tickets for the fuck of it. and we sold out the 100 tickets in like
Wow.
8 minutes.
That's
I mean, it
amazing.
was just like,
Was
it was
this for
incredible.
was this for a Bored Ape? Was this to win a Bored Ape?
No. This was
Oh,
the second one was for a mutant ape. But remember,
okay.
mutant apes at the time were like 30 ETH.
Wow. I didn't know that.
So yeah, so we thought, oh, this went really well. So let's do it again. And so we did it again, and we sold out very quickly again. And the second time we had thousands of them. Actually, I see Hero, the guy who's running the Azuki Apes in the crowd. He was part of the
Nice.
original
What's up,
ape
hero?
raffle, and so after that, we were like, wow. So anyway, we gave out like a bunch of apocalyptic apes, a bunch of Grandpa Ape Country Club, a bunch of lazy lions, a Bored Ape Kennel Club. We gave out a mutant ape. We gave out the at the time we acquired and gave out the most expensive one of one music NFT that I'd ever seen, which was Violetta's "A Little Rain Must
Yes.
Fall." We paid like three and
Amazing.
a half ETH for it, and then gave it to
Amazing.
somebody, and they flipped it for like over 5 ETH within 24 hours, right?
That's
Which was
incredible.
amazing. Yeah, it was
Hmm.
amazing. And this is like this was 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. And so, and we were just me. So anyway, the reason I'm getting there. So me and Crystal King started this show. He had a show called the Crystal King Show
Hmm.
that was every day, and then I just kept showing up for it. And I was just like, I would just be that annoying fucking guy that would like raise his hand and be like, "Let me on stage." And he started to let me on stage after I think like the first week or so. Anyway, then I just became kind of a mainstay on the show. And then one day I just said to him, like with the ape raffle that we had been doing, I just said, like, why don't we just start our own project? And
Nice.
we did. We started our own project, and we ran that project for about a year and a half. And as you know, the bear came and just devoured
See, that's
everything.
when
I'm like,
that's when I kind of I think the bear was like just coming when I kind of got into it. I mean, that was in 2021, right? That's kind of when it
2022 was really
okay.
the when the bear. I mean, 2021 it was just you could throw a dart at a dartboard, pick up an NFT, and flip it for like 10x, and just be a complete idiot and not know what you're doing.
I wasn't there
Um,
yet. I was learning how to make NFTs and learning. I
yeah,
wasn't quite there. So I was like the bridge. I was like right there, but not there.
yeah, you came in right at the yeah. So then
2021.
2022 it
Yeah.
started to fall apart a little bit, and then
Mhm.
of course FTX collapsed, and so anyway, me and Crystal King did this show, the Ape Liquid show for a very long time, probably
Mhm.
18 months or so, even through some of the bear. And that project just kind of came unglued like every other project. Like there was no way, the floor price kept falling. There were way too many NFTs in it. It just couldn't sustain. And it was around that time that the three original founders of the Azuki Apes
Mhm.
decided that they didn't want to do the Azuki Apes anymore because the
Oh.
Azuki Apes, it just OpenSea had taken away royalties, and not, nothing was working. The bear was in full swing, and
Mhm.
so I acquired the Azuki Apes, which was at the time called the Azuki Ape Social Club. I bought the three founders out, and then I
Wow.
gave the Azuki Ape Social Club to the community, and we renamed it to Azuki Apes.
You gave
And
it to the
so,
community. There was a little bit of
yeah,
optimization interference. That's amazing.
yeah. And so right now, if you go to Azuki, I'm on the team now. So thank you guys for being cool. And I mean, I think that's really nice. It's one of my favorite projects. The face that I have on right now is an Azuki Ape face, but the team is like Hero, who you've met,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
Sharticus and Rusty Dusty. He's on the
Mhm.
team.
Yes.
Toodles,
Shout out.
and
Mhm.
yeah. Shout out Ale Hicks, which is pronounced Alex, I think. And then Alt 1976, who does these amazing videos. Um, they're all like the Ape Council. They're the people that are running the Azuki Apes. And a couple of weeks ago, they asked me if I wanted to be on the team, and I was like, I don't have the time, but it's really hard for me not to be on that team because I love that project so much. I love the way that the Azuki Apes look and all. Anyway, so
And isn't
back
there a
back to the
partnership?
but
Oh, go
at
ahead.
some point I'll get to the fucking reason that I got on the FOMO show, but um, there's just so much weird, like crazy history there.
The
Uh,
morning FOMO
yeah,
show.
exactly. And so yeah, so we did that show for a while, the Crystal King Ape Liquid show, and then uh, you know, after FTX collapsed, I think you know this, Vessy, I was like in a pretty deep funk
Yeah.
because all of my capital, the capital for the hedge fund that I ran, I was fully invested in crypto, and FTX took it all down, right?
Right.
And so I found myself, an old ass man in the first part of 2023, kind of staring down the barrel at like, wow, I just, the ultimate rug just happened, right? FTX just rugged my entire net worth. And so like, what do I do? And I was despondent like a normal person for a very long time. But then I started thinking, wait a second, like, what are the things that I really love doing? And artificial intelligence obviously is on that list. And I started to believe more in individual sovereignty than I ever had. I started to believe that I didn't trust the financial institutions, and not your keys, not your coins was the way to go. And so I started
Right.
looking around. I was developing an AI trader that I was thinking about using, like in kind of a black box way. I was going to go out and raise capital and use this AI trader and probably take on venture capital and start a company, right? And then I just thought, what am I doing? Like, if I go out and raise venture capital, I'm beholden to a bunch of venture capitalists. I have a board of directors. Aren't I basically doing the same shit that just got me rugged? And
Right.
so I completely like pivoted. I did a full 180 and said, instead of that, I'm part of this project called, I was the developer of the token, the 300. And, I own some what are now Liquid Legions, and I'm like a big fan of Azuki Apes. And why don't I just take all these things that I love and figure out a way we can all work together? No. The Azuki Apes motto is ape together. And I kind of took that to heart. How do we ape together and actually build something where we can all benefit from it without external influence and without somebody on the outside like telling us like what to do or how to think or how to manage it, and how do we create that individual sovereignty but as a group? And so
And you
that's
know how
kind of
to
how
do it.
all that came
Yeah.
about. Yeah, yeah,
You know how to
apparently.
do it. Yeah. You have a lot
Yeah.
of people that love you and support you. There's some people that I think are confused about the road and don't know all the details. And to them I say, dig a little deeper and find out what's really going on. A lot of time people just they hear something or they're part of something and they know perhaps just a small percentage of the actual story. And I think it's amazing that you're still doing what you're doing. And I'm so inspired and so happy to be part of the journey. I love the FOMO show. Big up to all the supporters of the FOMO show. Again, Monday through Friday on X, starts at 11 a.m. Eastern. That's correct, right? Yes. It was 10 and then it moved to
Well,
11.
technically it starts at 10:30, right? You do a
Well,
30-minute.
yeah. So the new thing is the music in the morning, the serenade, which Lucas and I do with some culture commentary. We're going to start to do some, talking about what's going on in the world. He's so poetic. Lucas is so poetic. Shout out to Lucas. I know you're watching. He had a question for you, so I'm waiting for the question. And I'm sure if anyone else has any questions, definitely put it in the comments. Again, I'd like to share that tonight is sponsored by all of these amazing, beautiful brands. I'm just going to run it real quick. Aleph, if you'll just give me a second again, just to say
Of
again,
course.
thank you. Here we go.
I love the reset too. Let's run the sponsors.
Let's run the sponsors. Hey, those AI girls are so pretty. Are you there?
I'm here. Yeah, I'm here. So yeah, you were asking a question about the FOMO and how I kind of found Lucas and all that.
Yeah.
It's a funny answer because it's basically exactly what you think, which is I was on a space and everyone sounded like a, you know, idiot who had been like smoking a bowl for the last 8 hours.
Eight
And in
years.
the
8
middle,
years.
in the well, 8 hours
Yeah.
straight. And in the middle of all of that was this fucking Lucas, and he was just like talking about monetary policy and economic
He's
theory,
the
and
best.
he didn't seem to give a shit about like the
He
fact that nobody understood what he was talking about or any, and he just was like this was important to him, and he was explaining it, and he was very cogent, and I was like, wow, I should be around that person more. And
That's how I
so
feel. I heard him
yeah,
speak for the first time on X. I was like, "Who is this?" I they're so Lucas is just he's got his eye on the needle. He knows what's going on, and he has like multiple perspectives that make themselves available to him for any conversation that one might throw at him. He just knows his stuff, you know. And
absolutely.
you guys, I love the rapport that you have with each other. There's sometimes you guys are opposed, which I think that makes for a really great show, and also just to show how people can kind of we can work to understand one another better by giving each other the time to speak and share, and then kind of say, okay, well, I get that, but check this out. So I'm really loving the show.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And it's funny because I basically reached, I slid into his DMs and I was like, hey, we should we should talk more. And then we got on a call and I think we talked for like 4 hours the first time we had a conversation,
Wow.
and we argued and we talked about all kinds of stupid shit. And at the end of it, he was like, this should be a show. And I was like, oh man, that is just so like self-indulgent, really. And he said, no, I think people would listen to it. I said, all right, I'll give it a shot, because at the time, remember I mentioned the Bored Ape Show. At the time, I'd been on this show called the Bored Ape Show for a while with Machiavelli and Ghost Trapper and Bubble Queen and
Hmm.
Tia and all of these people. And that show fell apart because, much like Mice Media, the
Yeah,
Twitter just went
just
away,
done.
right?
Right.
This is the problem with these shows, is like you get invested in something like the Bored Ape Show, and then the Twitter is gone, and then you're just like, wow, what do we do now? And
Why is that happening? Why is that happening? And is there any intel on, why that's happening?
well, in the case of Bryn at Mice Media, it was because he got on kind of the wrong side of an argument with
Hmm.
uh, somebody on X, and so he was collateral damage. Hero's account was deleted too. Did you know that?
No,
Hero
I
was
didn't.
running a badge that, it wasn't a Mice Media badge. He was running a badge from Ben.eth, one of those
Hmm.
with the whatever that circle badge was that Ben
Yeah,
had. And remember, they took down like 1,100 or
everybody.
1,200. Yeah, everybody
Yeah.
got, yeah. So Bryn kind of got collateral damage on that. And the way that the FOMO show kind of came about with Lucas too. Remember, Bryn was hosting it, or Mice Media
Hmm.
was hosting it, and then Lucas said, "Hey, you should host this." Now that the Mice Media is gone, and I said, like, no, I'm not interested in like being the host of a show. And he
Right.
said, okay, fine, I'll host it. And I said, I would love
Nice.
that. And so yeah, that's kind of how that happened.
And we're not getting rugged.
No, we're not
I'm
getting
putting my
rugged.
foot down. We're not getting rugged, Aleph.
Well,
Uh,
if the thing is that we've learned, so the difference is, so in the case of the Bored Ape Show, when the Bored Ape Show went away, what happened was like the person running it just didn't like try anymore. They just gave up. And so the difference between me and Lucas and Bryn and you and all is like, if if let's say Lucas's Twitter account gets like removed, he'll just create a new one, and then one of us will host the show, right? We're not going to
right.
let that stop us.
That's right.
And so I'm not worried about that personally.
STNR Junior, STNRJ says this interview is awesome. Thank you. thank you, everybody. All your beautiful comments, sweethearts all over the world here. We appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. So let's talk about the automated trader that you have, the 300.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So
When I heard that, I was, is this legal?
yeah. um,
I don't really, you've been in AI your whole life pretty much, and I'm new to it. So I didn't quite understand. And I think that the audience would love to hear about the 300, which if I could just introduce it as an amazing utility for anyone and anybody who would like to learn how to have self-sovereignty. How did I do, Aleph? Did I do okay?
yeah. And I mean, so this goes back to what I was saying earlier, which is, is exactly the point, right? Which is
Yeah.
like that I I had something that I'd been building for about 7 months, and I was trying to figure out, okay, how do I want to surface this? And I fell in love with this crew at this token called the 300, and of course, Azuki Apes. I love those guys. And I was like, why am I trying to go out and raise capital and do all these other things
Hmm.
when I have this group of people who actually support and believe in what we're talking about? When I say not your keys, not your coins, when I say individual sovereignty, when I say not be beholden to traditional financial institutions, there's a whole group of people that already believe that. Now, this is a group of people who frankly got their ass kicked, though, because if you know anything about the 300, it was originally founded by not me. I was the developer. And
Oh, I don't know him. Who's not me?
Ape Moon was
Right.
just an alpha caller. He was
Okay.
just a guy. And so
What's an
I
alpha
got,
caller? There's people out there who are probably like, what are they
oh, an
talking about?
alpha caller is
Yeah, what's
someone
it?
who calls shitcoins.
Okay.
Like somebody
And what's
who's
a
like,
shitcoin? What's a
a
shitcoin?
shitcoin is a cryptocurrency like Pepe or,
Okay.
a 2001 used Honda Civic or any of these coins that people call Doge might sometimes be considered a shitcoin, but
Okay.
there are all these
So,
coins that people buy and they try and buy them before they, go up a lot in value. They're just
right.
often they don't have any utility. Often they're just a meme, right? And so the 300 at the time was just a shitty meme coin.
Mhm.
I was the developer, and I got paid one 300 token. There are only 300 tokens. So I got paid
Okay.
one 300 token to be the developer. 8moon got paid one 300 token to be the alpha caller. We called this coin, and like the original founders were like, they would get on stage and they would scream like, "This is crypto." And like really they made it like a "This is Sparta." It was just a shitty meme, right? It was just like a meme coin. But
Yeah.
I think because I was so vocal about the way that the coin worked, and I got to know the crew so
Yeah.
well, I was like, okay, what do we do? And then the founders just rugged the coin, man. I mean, like sold it and left, right? So totally fine.
So
Like
hold on a minute.
this
Wait.
happens to all kinds of coins.
So the coin was done. The coin was done. Finito. Then what
Oh, it
happened?
was done. The market
Okay.
cap was under $10,000.
Oh, somebody says Vitalik is a shitcoin. Oh, Buterin would not like that. Somebody put Vitalik.
What's a shit coin?
Somebody said Vitalik is a shitcoin.
Oh, Vitalik. Yeah,
Vitalik, yeah.
that's funny.
Not nice, not nice. But maybe you guys are used to giving each other a lot of, kind of like you've been boxing. Seems like this space is a very much a like, like how many hits can you take?
Oh yeah, for sure. There's a
Yeah.
lot of that going on. And actually, uh, one of the things that I think people really look for here, because the crypto space, especially NFTs and coins, this is a space where there are a lot of people making promises
Yeah.
for the roadmap, and there are a lot of people who don't deliver on those promises. And so people have kind of gotten their ass kicked by like getting into a coin, like even
Mhm.
SafeMoon. I don't know if you've heard of that. That was a
I-
really big deal coin, and that turned out to be just like an absolute like disaster.
mm.
Or I mean, and you can name probably 1,000 coins that were like they were worth millions and millions and millions of dollars, and then the founders just like basically took the money and walked away. And
So this idea of exit liquidity is
yep,
there's team mentality, They buy in and then they leave, and then everybody else buys in, and
Yeah, there's
they're
that,
left
of
there. Yeah,
course. Yeah,
yeah.
there's also like a lot of founders will like launch a coin and then run it up to a bunch of money and then dunk on all of the people that hold it and then go launch another coin and then run it up and then dunk on people and
So
then go launch another coin.
how is 300 different? 300 is not a coin. 300 is
Well, it's a token, but
okay.
it's more like, so instead of a meme coin, which is
Right.
like a meme coin is just like, hey, there's this funny joke behind it, right?
Mhm.
It's
Like Dogecoin.
yeah, it's Vitalik Buterin's cat. It's Kanye's dog.
Right.
It's like just some, it's a used car. It's a 2001 Honda, It's instead of just something that doesn't have any real value long
Mhm.
term other than just like it's clever.
Yeah.
Um, this is a utility token. So one of the
Okay.
things that we did when me and Ape Moon took it over, the first thing we did is we rewrote the contract completely from scratch, and we made everyone on the new one, so everyone on the old coin claim the new token. So we changed the name. It used to be called the 300. We changed it to THND. And you might think, well, that's a stupid thing to do, but let me tell you why we did it.
Yeah. Okay.
If you put $ the 300 on Twitter, it doesn't highlight it
Okay.
because there are numbers in it. And so
Right.
cash tags don't highlight on Twitter if you have a number. And so we changed it to THND for two reasons. One, it sounds like thunder, so you could be
Yes.
thunderstruck.
Yes.
And we have a
And I
lightning
am.
logo.
I'm thunderstruck. I am. I'm not gonna lie.
And then we also changed it to where it would be 4 characters, and if you put a $ in front of it, it would show up as a cash tag, so you could actually, oh, I don't know, search for it on Twitter.
Yeah. Why would you want to do that? Yeah.
It's crazy,
Right.
crazy. Um, yeah, and we did it, like I said, so that we could bring in the community, right? Everybody who wanted to like come along for this crazy ride with us could. And so the second thing we did was we announced on November 3rd, and it's funny if you go back and look at the chart. I'm going to go look at the chart right now, but it's
Okay.
just wild. If you go back and look at the chart is hilarious because it's like absolutely flatlined when we relaunched it. It's just like flat, 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 flat. And then on November 3rd, we announced that we were taking over the project and it started climbing, right? And it shot up quite a bit. And it's only at $14,000 a coin right now.
You're saying
Uh,
only.
yeah.
Some people might
But
be like, "What? 14,000?" So,
well, when
but
we took it over, it was $30 a coin.
oh my gosh. And only 300 of them.
Yep.
And it started at 30, now it's at 14,000. What's the highest that it got to?
It looks like 30,
What?
30,300. Yeah.
Wow. And so
Yeah.
people probably start. So what does having this coin do for people? It's an auto trader, but
Well, yeah. So the coin, it does a couple of things. One is that you're holding like holding a Bored Ape or anything else. You're actually holding something with inherent value,
okay.
right? And so you might want to buy it just like you buy a share of Apple or just like you buy Bitcoin or something else. You might want to hold it just so you can hold something that hopefully has some inherent value and some inherent value that we're going to continue to increase because again, Vessy, it's important to realize that it was under $100 on November 3rd. And we're January 21st right now, right? So December, January, we're not even 3 months in,
It's
right?
crazy.
And it's at 14,000. So there is an opportunity there to just hold something of value. And so we hope to keep building that. But then the second thing it does is if right now today, if you hold a whole coin, it gives you access to that AI trader that I mentioned earlier that I'd been building for 8 months now, 9 months, good God, that I've been building for 9 months now. And
It,
that AI, I can talk about that AI trader with as much or as little detail as you want, but the important thing to remember about the AI trader is you've heard that I have a background in artificial intelligence. I have a background where I've done this before, but I also had for 6 years, 5 years, an AI quantitative hedge fund that traded millions and millions of dollars. And the last 2 years of that, before the collapse of FTX, that
wow.
hedge fund traded only crypto, which is
Wow.
one of the reasons I got wrecked when FTX collapsed, right?
Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. I learned a lot from that. And in fact, in some ways, like it's hard to say this, but in some ways, it may have been one of the best things that ever happened to me, because the amount of humility that it created, it's a weird thing to have to start over,
I
right?
hear
Like
you.
from scratch.
Yeah.
And so having to start over from scratch really caused me to reassess priorities, what was important in life, what mattered, what I was actually trying to do with my life, how I wanted to build a legacy, the kind of legacy I wanted to build, what mattered.
Yeah.
And so it was like a slap in the face in a lot of ways.
Um,
And
would you be okay if we bring up BK for one question, if I might, just our
sure, of course.
co-founder real quick here? And we're getting close to the end of the show. I could like talk to you like 24 hours straight. Just wanted to say that. Hi, BK,
Hi.
welcome.
Hi,
Hello.
hi. I hope I'm not interrupting the 24-hour things.
You had a question for Aleph.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, the show is about AI entertainment. So what do you see from what you're doing, the 300 coins or whatever, going into media, going into AI? Is there some synergy in the future?
I don't see any real synergy going into media or entertainment, but the 300 coin does right now today, and has for the last 35 days. It trades automatically. And when I say automatically, I actually mean that. So you turn it on, give it some Ethereum, and it trades ERC20 tokens automatically. You don't have to touch it. In fact, touching it is bad. You should not touch it. You should let the AI do its thing. And like Wu-Tang, you should not fuck with it. And so
So
that
there's
works today.
some kind of AI inbuilt into the tokens.
Yeah, so there's not AI built into the tokens. The tokens themselves simply give you access to the backend AI trader. It's like a token gate. So in the same way that if you held a Bored Ape, you could get access to Ape Fest. It's just a token. The 300 token just token gates you access into the AI. And
I see.
right now that token gated access is one full coin, which is about $14,000.
But you don't even have 300 left. I remember you saying, because it like, what does it do?
Every single time you buy, sell, or trade one, it burns 3% of what
That's
you buy, sell, or
crazy.
trade. Yeah.
That's
Yes.
crazy, dude.
So we have 224 left right now.
Wow.
Yep.
And can people buy partial? Can they buy partial or?
Yeah. There's
Okay.
18 decimal places, just like Bitcoin or Ethereum. It goes to 18 decimal places. And one of the things that we're doing starting February 5th is we're allowing you to get into the trader with fees, right? So right now, if you have a whole coin, you don't have to pay any fees. But starting February 5th, you'll be able to get into it. Instead of a whole coin, you can buy 0.025 of a coin, which I'm going on to Uniswap while we're having this conversation once it comes up, and I'll tell you exactly how much that is. I think it's like $400 and something.
But wait. 0.25 of 14,000.
0.025.
0.025. Oh.
0.025. Yep. 0.025. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's like $350 right now, or 0.14 Ethereum.
So what does that give a person? You have access, but you have to, what
Yeah,
fees
you
do
would.
you have to pay?
Yeah, on February 5th, you'll have full access to the exact trader that everyone uses for free,
Okay.
or with no fees. And the only difference is that you'll pay 2.5% on your transactions, and 25% of your gains will go back to the project.
Wow.
Now, what makes it cool though, Vessy, is that the 2.5% of your transactions and the 25% of your gains, most of that goes back to people who own a whole coin. Most of it does not go back to the project. Very, very, very tiny amount of it goes back to the project. Almost all of it goes back into people
And so
who hold a whole coin.
You could ultimately, if everybody's buying and selling, and if people are doing so well, you might end up with only one coin left.
I mean, that's sort of the goal. It's the Highlander model of there can be only one, right? Where as everyone buys and sells, and as it continues to buy and sell and buy and sell and buy and sell, 3% every time. Yep.
This is a reality show.
Wow.
BK, what do you think about this? This is crazy.
Well, I think is really innovative. I'd love to read the white paper if you have one, and maybe you can put in a link for everybody to understand. I think what you're doing is putting the trading part into automations where you own it and you do not have to meddle with it and just let it go by itself. And I'm not sure about the profit thing or again the monetization part, but I think the automations and the whole process give another new way of looking at crypto, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And Vessy, you talked about the Azuki apes earlier.
Yeah.
One of the things that we did when I became part of the Azuki Apes project is we made the Azuki Apes one of the ways that you can get into using the trader as well. And so if you hold 10 Azuki Apes, you can also use the AI trader. So there's like there's 2 ways today. On February 5th, there'll be 3 ways, right? Hold a whole coin, hold 10 Azuki Apes, or on February 5th, 0.0, so 0.025.
Do you know what? Yep. Do you know what song just popped into my head? 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. But like, because when you went, you could do it this way, you could do this, you could do.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well,
for me, it was 88 lines about 44 women.
Oh goodness! Oh goodness!
By Nails.
Okay, we're gonna have to
by Nails.
We're gonna have to have you back, and I don't know. I think that this is probably one of the funnest interviews. BK, Aleph's amazing, isn't he? BK's probably like reading into you right now.
We should have him back more.
Yeah, it would be great. Would love that. And so before we close out today, I just want to say
we should have him back and share more.
Yeah. It'd be great too if you could post a link in the comments, the link of links. And where should people find you? Where's the best place to get in touch with you? I know you're so busy.
So the one thing I will say, and this is not because I'm a rude jerk, but it's a matter of prioritization, is I do not read my direct messages.
Okay.
And I apologize for that in advance, but if you send me a direct message, it will go somewhere into the ether. I will almost certainly not see it. It's way better to tag me on Twitter, or if I'm going to drop the link to the 300 project.
Okay, perfect.
If you pop into the Telegram, we're extremely transparent in the Telegram. Vessy, you've been in there. You see people asking all kinds of questions.
I have. I'm kind of a little bit lost. I'm new at this. I would
the
love
Telegram
to
too,
learn.
Vessy.
Yeah.
Seriously, the Telegram is impossible to keep up with.
There's so many people in there.
770 members, and they just like, I go to sleep and I sleep for 4 hours, and I wake up and there's like 1,500 messages. So here's what we did though, Vessy, for me and for everyone else. We created something. Ape Moon put together using an AI. He put together something where you type /summarize. In the Telegram, and it summarizes the chat since you last saw it.
Amazing.
So you can get a summary. There's no way to keep up with it otherwise. It's just insane.
That's brilliant, Aleph. Wouldn't it be amazing if like the news of the world could be summarized daily? How everything exactly is happening, what happened next. We want to know.
Yeah, the only problem with that is a problem of bias. So who created the AI that summarizes the news? Bias is a real problem.
Yeah, it is. I don't want to say goodbye, but we have to say goodbye. I have my guitar here, which is a very odd thing because I never have it.
Are you going to play us out? Are you going to make my evening and play us out? I would love that.
Yeah. BK, would you like to say anything else before we close? Oh, yeah, one more thing, guys. One more time. Let's do it. Again, we want to thank all of our sponsors, you guys. Oh, BK, go ahead.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming to the show, and hope you follow us.
Yes. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. We'll see you next week for episode 3. AlephOne, thank you so much for being here. I think I want to write you a song on the spot, since that's how this is Music Train presents AI-TAINMENT. So I'm going to need 3 words, AlephOne.
Ooh.
Actually, give me 2, and then BK will give me 1.
Well, we have to have the word crypto in there.
Okay.
Can we do crypto, and can we do Azuki?
Yep. Azuki. Okay. Azuki and crypto.
Yep.
And BK, what is your word, please?
And we'll have, yeah, we have AI.
One, two, three. What do you get when you get stuck? Like crypto does sometimes. AI finds a way. It's a labyrinth in here. Tell me about the Azuki apes. Yeah, aping in. This is not financial advice now, guys, but let's have some fun. Tell me, what do you do when you get stuck? Oh, I think I'm gonna say what's up. Oh, to all my friends and all of this AI we talk about, we don't deny. The future's here, the future's here. Future's here, the future's dear. The future's dear, and it's AI, like a pizza pie. Up in the sky, raining clouds of light. Everybody's gonna get what they need tonight, tomorrow, the next day. It's AI, Azuki apes. Are we gonna ape in? Yep. Have we already done it? Yes, we have. La 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 la. AI-TAINMENT. It's our arrangement. Don't forsake it. It's yours. Azuki apes. Crypto says yeah. AI. Azuki apes in crypto way. How'd I do, guys? Do I still got it?
Yep.
All right,
Love
good.
it.
All right. We'll see you next week, you guys. Thank you so much. And we're going to close out with some happiness. You guys take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and don't forget to live for the day, live for the moment. And remember how lucky you are. I feel so lucky to be with you guys. Thank you, Aleph. Thank you, BK. Bye.